Daniel Ricciardo, one of the most formidable racers in the Formula One arena, has not had a good run this season. Now, it is normal for drivers to have a backlog in their performance, but it is almost becoming a trend for the speedster. While Ricciardo had a promising career ahead, it seems to have taken a turn after he left Red Bull, as he has not been able to be competitive in the last few years. What is the cause of Daniel's underperformance? What do his teammates think? How has he been making steps to gain momentum again? Join me as I answer these questions and more in this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. Now, let's begin. Ricciardo has been making the headlines recently, and mostly for the wrong reasons. The classic racer has been struggling a lot this year on pace consistency and overall results, which is not helped by his teammate Lando outperforming him on that card this season. Most fans believe that his gap with teammate Lando Norris has widened this year, and McLaren CEO Zak Brown has not been too positive about Daniel. At the moment, Lando has brought in 82% of McLaren's points so far this season with 48 points, to Daniel's with 11 points. On average, Lando is 0.6 of a second quicker in the same car on a qualifying pace. As quoted by Racing News 365, McLaren's team principal Andre Seidel started by explaining the performance gap between Daniel and teammate Lando Norris. Daniel says he still doesn't feel 100% with the car, especially when it's about pushing it to the absolute limit in qualifying. Andre Seidel also said that he was competing against a very powerful teammate, Lando Norris. He added that when he considered both things together, they were experiencing a disparity sometimes. Saito also clarified why Daniel was so far off the pace back in Barcelona, which he stated that there was an issue with the car, which gave an explanation which was important and was learned from. He signed off on what can be done for Daniel, stating that all that can be done together with Daniel, with a commitment on both sides, is to keep working hard to find the last percentages. Daniel has had some great results with several podiums and even a win back in Monza, however with one of the worst records when compared directly with his teammate, who is working with the same set of tools. Ricciardo's driving style back when the Red Bull was incredible aerodynamically and able to produce more raw downforce than any other team on the grid. With the Renault engine not so great and comparatively quicker in the corners but slower in the straights. What made Ricciardo great in that car was that it fit his style very well and is well known as the last of the late breakers only when overtaking. When Daniel was on a regular lap, he would draw the brake a bit earlier than most drivers, which benefited him, as he could then maintain the vehicle at a more level speed, allowing Daniel to turn in very fiercely and carry a high minimum speed into a corner. As a result, a smoother braking phase kept the car flatter, which, with the right car, allows keeping the aerodynamics working well throughout the corner. Daniel would set the car to be very stable on entry, as he doesn't want the car moving around on the way into a corner, according to Blake from Break F1, who was a performance engineer at Red Bull at the time. Max Verstappen didn't mind the car moving on entry, whereas Daniel didn't really care for it. And this style relies on having a car with great front-end grip, because Daniel isn't hard on brakes through the corner. When Ricciardo joined McLaren, he experienced issues with similar models, the 2021 and 2022 cars. It seemed he couldn't get the car turned nor rotated past the apex and the way he wanted it to. He was running out of road on the corner exit, leading to thoughts on his performance. In contrast to earlier Red Bulls, the 2021 McLaren didn't rotate as well on corners, suggesting maybe a slightly weaker front axle and a more stable rear axle in contrast to the Red Bulls, which have a more typically loose rear axle. Therefore, it seems the McLaren has a strong rear end, which is good on the brakes. However, the result of this is they can tend to understeer a little bit, and according to various interviews in the last 2 years, this has caused an issue for Daniel. It appears the understeering issue is the main one, as the Red Bull has a lot of front-end grip, enabling Daniel to roll the car in the corner with a lot of speed, without a lot of brake pressure. It allows more weight over the car's rear for a better exit, but the driver can run out of the road on the exit and that adds up, and some drivers were able to adapt to this, whereas some were not. There were clearly circuits and days when it did work for Daniel, but on the whole, it seems that the way the front axle works really doesn't suit Daniel and his driving style. and the way he likes to rotate the car, particularly when he's doing this kind of classic overtaking move, where he is just straight lines to the apex and gets rotated at the apex while already in front of his rival, is a good point. Overtakes are a different style altogether, in which you are not optimizing for the highest minimum corner speed to a corner, or the best run out of it, as you are only trying to get ahead of your opponent and block the ideal line, allowing you to get ahead, making the style different there. Lando seems much happier with a car that is less stable on the brakes and with a little more understeer. One way to drive a car with a hint of understeer is to pull the brakes late and deep into the corner, as this puts a lot of load on the front tires into the apex but removes grip from the behind. This lower rear grip enables the drivers to pivot the car on the front axle through the corner, allowing them to get a good exit. Generally speaking, cars with a hint of understeer are normally much more stable on the power, so the driver can gain some time on the exit. Looking back at Lando's onboards from the last 2 years, and in general, he does seem to set his car up with a hint of understeer. This enables him to accelerate more quickly as he exits the corner, appearing to be the deciding factor in this case. Lando and Daniel represent an intriguing partnership while still able to draw fans in with their personalities. Lando Norris recently told the media, admitting that he took a significant amount of time to adapt to his side of the garage. He stated that at the very beginning of the season, he felt like he had to adapt quite a bit, probably with his driving style about more than what Daniel struggled with initially in the first few tests. Norris also acknowledged how the drivers are different from one another, and added that some of his feelings were not translated well to his partner, and that how they drive their cars is slightly different as well. Lando said that Ricciardo prefers a car with much more instability and push force on the front, and a car that is a little more stable and made with a little more understeer. Lando Norris admitted that this year McLaren's cars are actually a little bit different. He stated that he does feel like it's a difficult car to drive and that the characteristics which he's had over the past few years are quite specific and unique, and so some driving styles needed are not like the ones he learned growing up, and therefore he would need a bit of adaptation. Lando continued to say that this year especially, the cars are a lot different and some of the characteristics of last year are gone, with the introduction of some other characteristics, and so he's had to change his driving style whilst adapting to it. And that is not just because he's been with McLaren for 4 years that he knows the car inside out. Lando is a natural in McLaren's car. It suits him and makes him happier with the car moving around, as Daniel doesn't really seem to have the confidence in it at the moment, as seen in qualifying at Monaco. Daniel is much less confident on the brakes, seen on the way into the key braking zones, with Daniel lifting the brakes where Lando isn't. There's likely a track progression, but not nearly a second's worth, as Daniel isn't confident in that car. However, you could argue that Monaco is typical. Only time will tell if he's able to adapt and make the changes required this season to generate a little more success. That's all we can take in today's video. Leave us your comments and thoughts about Ricciardo's below par performance in the comment section below. Finally, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more amazing content. See you in the next video.